Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Lester Zoom Headley. The title of this one, Organizational Toxicity and Bondage. Organization Toxicity and Bondage. Look, sometimes we have staff bending over backward for excellence in service, to work hard to gain respect, to gain promotion, to get better benefits, to make sure that productivity is upkept. Okay, we have staff who are respectful and staff who's also disrespectful. We have a lot of staff with more dignity than anything else. But the way some organizations treat staff is not right. It's not right. They don't see the true value of their staff. They blame them, they mistreat them, they treat them like slaves, they disrespect them, especially when you have poor managerial blessing, toxicity in the culture. You get a lot of misgiving. But look, you should train your ugly managers. Organizations need to train their ugly managers and supervisors in order that sustainability and excellence can be transferred in the halls and cracks and culture of the said organization. True to form, they say a happy wife may result in a reasonable life when it comes to marriage. An unhappy workplace, bliss in ignorance is always displayed in management negativity, which exists with the toxicity in the workplace, which by extension causes high turnover, unhappy workers, mistake reoccurring over and over again, and the big and ugly production as example. Because you get, once a staff member is disgruntled or realize that they're being treated badly, poorly, you will always find onions in the drains in the kitchen. Limes and lemon, whole limes and lemon in the drain. Okay, ugly management causes all of that. They bring high level of turnover. They plug the toilets with paper that they know that will not flush. They do all the funny things, wasting of water, running the sink, leaving the sink on. Let it flood out. Let it flood out. That's how they think, because it's the way they're being treated, disrespectful. And organization that's so bliss in toxicity don't ever see that their managers and supervisors are poor, because they are poor themselves. They are blind. The blind leading the blind. What do you expect? Blind organization using the blind managers to lead. You're not going to get a good result. You're not going to get a good result. Management, supervisory management, that is trained within a toxic culture. Management that is trained within a toxic culture and not academically trained will only sustain negative results. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Management should be taking refreshers courses. You should have managers that can do it, that can lead by example, not just running out fire and peep behind people when they're going into the toilet or when they're taking a break. No, or what time they arrive. I see it daily where I am. Managers will get up and go by the punch clock and pretend they're drinking water and tea just to peep and see behind the staff. That is ugly. That's not a manager. That's an overseer on a plantation in the 1930s and 40s. Okay? Look, you got to be better. Once you have toxicity and ignorance in management, you're going to have poor results. Okay? You're going to have peeping toms. You're going to have experts like massa. They're gone. Reincarnation of slavery. I kid you not. If the culture of the organization is to catch people doing the wrong thing, that's toxic. If the culture of the organization is to catch the employees doing the right thing, it's better. It's better. If the management itself is poor, how can they train proper supervisors? They're poor. They're not academically blessed. You're going to have poor because they're only training and sharing toxicity. Serious, dumb, daft in every regard. If planning and training development and executing and appreciating is not on the 4 more list, it's not going to be healthy. It will never be healthy. People, if they don't have people development and I have a great appreciation for it, it is a toxic environment. We have so many of them simply because of poor managerial culture. If there is a bullshitish attitude always being encouraged in the environment, then you will have a high level of toxicity, a high level of work turnover, and bad work being presented. Okay? The behavioral pattern of the employees will be responsible for it. But take a further look down at your management, your supervisory management, and see there are the cause that the organization have such toxicity in its culture. If the organization is punctuated with so many meetings daily and nothing is fed back to the staff, that's a waste of time. That's a showboating organization. That's poor management. The behavioral system stinks. Okay? Question what is success. Question what is professional. Question how you can move people along in training and development and get the best out of them. That's what you should be looking at. Ways and means to plan, execute, and make goal setting with people, with your people. It is poor when you don't have a proper training system. Like what you're doing. If you're making beds, training should be in making beds. If you're a bartender, you should be skilled in that. Not just what the company wants you to think about their roots and all that. No. If you have an organization and people were never trained in building aircraft, building bombs, building rockets, but you got them concentrating on what you wanted to concentrate, that's where you will get poor work all the time. Poor recognition and reward initiative when it's poor and bad, when it's old, stalemated, outdated, and lack imagination, it will cause stagnation. Okay? When poor performance and shady promotion and poor appraisal system, it spells disaster long term in the organization and create greater toxicity, not better, greater toxicity in the organization. You should stop and look at your organization and see what is wrong. There's a lot wrong in the organization and organizations across the world that disrespect their employees, blame their employees, peek behind their employees. Just throwing food at an employee is not going to work. No, some employee will not even eat it and some will eat it and smile. That's not the way. You got to make sure, don't step out of punch clock. Don't walk behind the employee to peek that they're going to the toilet and then look at your watch to see what time they went into the toilet and what time they're coming out of the toilet. Yes, I see people doing that. That is poor. That is ineffective. That is a poor managerial style. That's not managing. These are 8 critical components that keep coming up, and I keep sharing them with you, and I keep calling them out because I'm a person that is versed and trained in management studies. I was always a manager in my previous jobs, various jobs that I was involved with. And when I see poor management, poor supervisory management, poor level of management in organizations, and peeping toms dominating, it makes bad. You have employees, treat them like assets. Talk to the employees. You can get better production, you can get better service, you can get people who cares about the product, who cares about the organization, not because they're friends with benefits and you can do what you want to do with them and shortchange the whole system. No, that's not good. Some organizations are extremely poor. They need to take an inward look at their managerial skills first, top, middle, bottom, and make sure you treat employees much better. Lester Zoom Headley signing out on this one. I'm passionate about it. Thank you for listening. I'm very passionate about this one.